If everything in your business relies on channeling through you, where everybody's asking you, is this okay? Can I have a green light? A, you're a big old bottleneck. And B, you're not trusting the people that you're paying to make good decisions in replacement of you anyway. And that's the thing that I like. Today I had somebody bring me a question. I was like, listen, I don't want to make this decision. I trust your judgment. Don't worry about making the wrong decision. Just make the best decision you can.
Hey, what's going on, everybody, and welcome to season 4 of Legacy's Journey, where we talk about creating what outlives you. I'm your host, Cameron Williams, owner of Kinley Consulting, where we focus on strategic financial growth for marketing agencies so that they can live the dream life they deserve and not be a slave to their business. And of course, we do that through CFO services, consulting, and accounting. Now, this is season 4, where we are focusing on companies who have either bought, sold, are scaling or excelling at a high level. Now, the good thing about this is, I've been doing this a couple years now, and I've been in the marketing niche for a while. And, after a while, you get to start meeting new people all the time. And so I just recently joined this community that's down in Miami. It's a lot of agency owners there. So you got some that are learning, some that are feeling their way through, some that have reached it, and some that are just thriving. And so one of these people, right, they have this award show, and you got people that are hitting certain milestones. And so I was just paying attention, and the people who hit this certain milestone, they get to get up, share a little bit of their story, and you get to be like, that person seemed pretty cool. That seemed pretty legit. I would want to keep talking to said person. So I started approaching said persons, and one of them said, let's do it. So, ladies and gentlemen, and he also has my last name, so that makes this super easy. Tyler Williams is here on the podcast. What's up, bro?
What's up? Yeah, we do have a wonderfully common last name, don't we? It's
do.
The best one out there.
The best one. All right, now tell the people, because they may not know who you are, name of the company, and what you do.
So my company is called Mammoth Marketing, and we are a marketing company specifically working with plumbers and a smattering of other home services. And we've been, the company was started in 2015, and here we are today, completely niched in, and we've grown significantly.
Okay, now see, he already started. Now y'all know the drill. We always have these geniuses on here, so I have to take all these notes because they start saying stuff, but they say it in their regular voice. But you were like, hold up, that was really good. So now he said that his niche and his focus, you got the plumbing and the home services. So we got to just go ahead straight out the gate and start here. We know AI is here. It's not coming. It is officially here. And word on the street is, well, they may come and take all of us behind the computer types, but plumbing and your home services is way further down. So what are your thoughts on that? Because these are the people that you serve and help to bring more business.
Yeah. So there's the big talk of like the world is built for humans. And so you can't just throw software at plumbing problems, right? So that's why people, what do? They build a humanized robot to do these things. AI could hit that at some point, whatever. That's still far out. Right now, there's money to be made just by continuing the steady idea of doing the work that plumbers need to do, right? I'm not precious about like the future and being like, oh, this will never happen. The whole point of life is challenges and pivoting with those challenges. So it's like my business, for instance, AI's got a lot that cross sections in with marketing, right? So my job is to find, okay, but where do we still retain value and trust, and where do we add the human element in? And I think that with plumbers, they're going to be dealing with the same thing, maybe one day, but right now a lot of it has to do with like operations and sort of like back office stuff and systems along those lines. Now, from the marketing side with plumbers, you do have like, you got like phone answering services and things like that are getting more and more mature. I don't like them to, they're getting better and better. Are they as good as a human team right now? No, but that probably will happen somewhat soon.
I love this. Okay, so let's keep rolling with it. So to your point, we got our human element, but we have systems that can start to possibly come in, and maybe it's not doing 100% as good as Becky or John, but it's getting close. So, as someone who's able to build these systems, what are you kind of doing to approach that with your clients? Because we know we have some people that are like, hey, replace that person, save that money, bring the cost down. We have some people that are more on the, hey, this can amplify Becky and make her even better. Because where do you kind of fall into that?
So, first of all, the first thing that we're sort of like going after is where can we become more efficient and offer deeper insights to the clients, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, a lot of it is how can we do deeper data analysis? Where do we find like new opportunities for a client? And what I've told the staff and the way that I'm approaching it as the owner is, like you said, an extension, right? So you have a person who could suddenly, like a lot of the busy work, a lot of like ticking little boxes and things, those are going to be outsourced. Those are mechanical actions. And so what I'm training the staff on doing is becoming more and more like they have to be a deeper thinker. If you save time, that doesn't mean we don't serve less. It means we can serve deeper, right? And so for me, it's if you can find a way to save yourself time through AI implementation, then where can you add more value or depth to a service or a task to the point where like the you become like a better marketer. That's really what I want my team to become, right? So you and I think we're going into the zone where AI can't hit very well because AI is a collection of everybody, right? AI is immediately a lowest common denominator platform. It goes, I take all these inputs and I create the thing that all these things sound like. That's when you can reintroduce the human element, and the human element ends up going like, yeah, but this is what you need right now. This is the unique part. This is the part that only a human can give you. This is deeper thought, right? To me, if you and I went to an AI platform and we gave it all of our copywriting, for instance, for marketing services, we would both be looking at it and being like, yeah, this sounds like marketing copy. But eventually when things get commoditized like that, then the rest of the world has to spin up and go, how do I sound different? How do I find my true uniqueness out of this whole thing? And I think that's going to be the challenge for like agencies at least.
Okay, okay. So see, I told y'all already thinking how do we do more efficiency, deeper insight. So that's how they're setting themselves apart. Now let's go back a little bit. I just had to get that while it was fresh. Tell us
Yeah.
a little bit about your story. Like what made you say, I want to get started and do this on my own? Was it you worked somewhere, family things? Tell us how we got here.
Did you grow up watching TV?
Of course.
Yeah, I did too, and so I ended up being like, I want to make TV ads. Well, no, let me back up. In high school, I found out that if I had a video camera in my hand and I was like, I have an essay, I don't want to write. I'm just going to speak into this thing and do some video editing. And this is back in 1999, 2002 zone era. Like it became I'm going to get an A. So then I became familiar with media, and I was like, okay, media is fun. And eventually somebody was like, you like media, you should go in and take a look at TV ads because then you can make money doing media. And I was like, that sounds like a great way in a small town because I'm from Alaska. Great way in a small town to make money and still get my hands on things like cameras. So I made local television ads for a long time. And then I ended up freelancing for different agencies. Eventually one hired me on. I became their like creative director, and I was still freelancing digital media stuff on the side, and rolled it in. And eventually in 2015, I bought the agency and renamed it Mammoth Marketing. That and really it was a new agency, and we just rolled all the clients over. And then it's been a wild ride since then. That's when I feel like I truly became like a marketing adult. That's when that hit.
Okay, tell us a little bit more about the buying the agency, because of course you know that's super hot right now. Ooh, let's go buy agencies and do roll ups or mergers and acquisitions. You literally had that opportunity. So walk us kind of through what you may have thought going into it versus what happened after.
So I got hired on the agency in 2008, and I bought it in 2015. So there's a gap, right? All the like by the time and the owner had no idea what he was going to do with the agency. He had built it from like 1983 up to that point, and he was ready to retire. And he was like, I'm going to hire this Tyler guy, and maybe he'll become somebody I could sell the agency to. And I was just not interested for the longest time. But then, pivotal moment, I had twin boys. And then it's like, oh, suddenly my priorities need to be a little bit more standard and robust, right? So it became this, given my market, given what I do, this is probably my best option. I'm going to buy his agency. So I went back to him and I was like, listen, you've talked sort of around me buying the agency. Let's talk about what this actually means. And he, again, it was small town businessman. So it was very much like, yeah, we got a contract, but he wrote it and I took it to a lawyer and they're like, this contract means nothing. I was like, cool. That it's basically a gentleman's agreement. And he was like, yeah. And I was like, all right, let's shake hands and let's just do this thing. And so I took on the agency. I had to come up with, like first month's funding to get payroll like rolling. And it all worked out. But I feel like you got to remember it was a local, it was an Alaskan based agency with a smattering of most clients in my hometown and a smattering in the next other town in Alaska, basically that you would want to penetrate with marketing. And so my situation was a little bit unique. It was almost like to some degree, my dad handed me the keys, but it wasn't my dad, right? And then he just kind of went off into the night to go roam the Alaskan wilderness. And then I kept the agency humming and paid him for 4 years. When I finished that, that's when I decided to niche down because I joined the coaching group that you talk about. And I was like, okay, well, I need a new North Star. I need somebody to help me define what a vision looks like moving forward. And that's where the coaching really came in.
Okay. See, he said a lot right there. So worked in it for 7 years. Owner chose him, but then he had the twins. Now let's talk about that because now we got two different realities. I was working in it. Now I'm the owner and I get to call the shots. So talk through what that switch is because as you know, being the technician and the employee, I come in, knock out my work, get back home. Versus I'm the owner. I got to be able to do your job and sales and HR and coaching and teaching and so like walk us through what that switch was like.
The switch from employee to owner.
That mental switch.
The mental switch.
Yeah.
The first, and I, because we work with a lot of newer business owners. Like the first 3 years of owning a business, you're freaking out all the time, and I think that's normal. And I think that people need to just kind of go like, this is part of the gig. I need to accept this. You got to get your reps in a little bit, right? Which means freaking out is maybe the wrong term, but having to deal with stuff you don't anticipate. Like you are building a new skill set for yourself. And I had to do the same thing. Like those first 3 years, it was like, oh, this is a challenge I've never faced before. So what do I do? I didn't have an answer. And at that point, I also didn't have a good coaching group because it was the previous owner, but I was taking the agency in new ways. So I was kind of rudderless. I was like, oh my God, I don't know how to deal with this. And so I would call a few other like business people I know in order to get some ideas. But overall, it was a lot of, oh my God, I hope this works. Oh my God, we have a low month. And now what's the next month going to look like? Okay, we're okay. Oh my God, we're low again. Oh my God, we're okay, right? And you got the seesaw of things that happen. But one thing that I've always sort of thought about this with like the challenges in business. They start like your first challenge in business is going to look like a mountain because you haven't really climbed a mountain. When it turns out it's just a hill and the mountain's on the other side. Like you've got bigger fish to fry the longer you're in business, and you're like, oh, the things that used to bother me, those don't really matter. Those are little decisions. But the ones up ahead of me, those are my current big decisions. And then one day I'll look back and those will be small as well. Right? You always need to graduate yourself up. And I think that I think a lot of times owners aren't necessarily they don't realize that. They don't have that perspective when you're first starting out. The first 2-3 years, I think, are a lot of, oh my God, I've read all the books. I got all the knowledge, but I haven't felt these things yet. I haven't like built up my emotional calluses against circumstance, right?
Which is really real to your point. Like that's legit.
Yeah. So like the first, it was, I don't know what I'm doing. This is scary. This is new. Everything was scary and new. And I was becoming a father at the same time to twins. And that was also hard, right? The first 3 years of me owning the business and the first 3 years of my kid's life are a blur. I do not remember it very well because it was, okay, I'm going to work, but I don't have extra time because I got to go home and help my wife with the kids. Like, so I had to be very, very careful about letting too much time go away. Like, I couldn't, business is fun. Business is interesting. It's a series of puzzles you just continually solve. And so there's a real danger to just like diving in and not paying attention to the family. And I had to make sure that I didn't let that happen. And there were times, I mean, if you ask my wife, she's probably like, there was a few moments. and and I would probably agree with her and be like, yeah, but that's because I didn't have the skill to necessarily see beyond those problems at that point. And so
Yeah.
I had to test myself, learn it, probably sucked at it for a while, got better. But you know, in another 3 years, I might look at right now and go like, wow, I knew nothing. So I don't know.
That
We'll
makes
see.
sense. Okay, let's stay right here. Okay, so now talk us through that. So, okay, I now have this new responsibility. I'm trying to take it in a slightly different direction, but keep money coming in. Now, I didn't go to just one and one, I went to two straight out the gate.
Mm.
Talk us through what that was like. And, babe, I got this new opportunity and it's great. And she's just like, great. Can you come help me? Because I need help.
Yeah. um this, I mean, I think that this is a unique situation with everybody because different partners are different ways, right? The person that you choose to like run parallel with your life, those relationships are going to have different dynamics. With mine, my wife is very much her own achiever and her own go-getter. And I would say that to some degree I took a lot of inspiration from watching her race after her goals before I really learned to set my own and chase after them. Like my own ambitions were a lot smaller when I was younger, and they've gotten bigger as I've proven to myself that ambition is good, and ambition and goals are something that actually formulate your future within certain constraints, right? So with my wife, it ended up being um, like she had to stop working. There's just no way, right? For her to keep working. So I was like, all right, well, we got this business. And at that point, it was providing enough income for both of us to survive pretty well. And so it was like, okay, we can do this. But the, the, the idea of growth wasn't really in my lexicon at that point. It was an idea of holding the line. I didn't want the business to shrink. One of my clients came to me and he was like, hey, I hear you're buying the business. Good job, blah, 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 right? And he was like, by the way, and he gave me the classic line of, if you aren't growing, you're dying. And that was the first time I heard it. And I've heard it since from a lot of business owners. But I was like, okay, yeah, that's fun. Thanks a lot. I just wanted to stay the same. Like, right? Um, but now, like, so the idea of growing the business wasn't really in our world, but it happened anyway, and which is probably a sign of good decisions. I would hope, I would think, right? um, but when we were looking at the things that we wanted to do, it was all right, we got to take care of the kids, we got to maintain a family unit. And the other side of it though is I learned how to manage that time. I learned how to listen when I needed to listen, again, I wasn't always good at it, but I also learned how to say I really need the extra time right now because we have a problem. Right? There's times where it was like, sorry, this, I know this isn't convenient, but this is what we have to do in order to make sure that our livelihood is protected. Right? Now, with that also comes the stipulation of this can't last forever, and I won't let it last beyond this certain point. Otherwise, it's too easy for it to run away, and next thing you know, you're ignoring ultimately the whole reason why you're working for the
Oh
family unit
boy,
in the first place,
you preaching,
right?
preaching.
Well, and I wish I could say it was that mechanical for us, but it wasn't. We had to learn these things through mistakes as well, right? And then that over time, my wife and I recalibrated our relationship, our relationship with the kids as parents together, my relationship with the kids individually, and just the kids as a father, right? And you end up sort of finding out, okay, these are the formulas by which my life can live, but I'm also not willing to budge on these elements. And these elements are usually coming down to the family. Sometimes the business does have to take a hit rather than the family, right? So, and managing those are just, those are things that we had to have real open conversation about it too. Of, okay, this is what we are trying to do. Does this fit within our goals? Is this convenient? How long can it be convenient? What are the issues what that this brings up in her life and my kids' lives, right? And how do we manage those? Do we need to pull in support families like grandma, right? And things like that to help just shuttle a kid from point A to point B. Sometimes these were small things where it's like, oh, hey, um, son needs to be driven from here to here. And sometimes they were bigger things like, I got to go out of town for 3 days because we have a client in the next town and I got to fly in and do a whole video shoot for him, right? But it's the coordination and collaboration. And then on top of that, my wife decides to go get her doctorate at the same time. So she's getting her doctorate. I'm running a business. We have twins together. We just took it all on at once. So, and now the boys are, they're going to be 12 in about a month here. And it's different now because they're different people than they were. And they have more input on what they need from us as well.
Yeah, he said a lot right there. Okay, the parts that stuck out to me, it can't last forever. Separate time with each unit and open combos about life and what's next. I love that it can't last forever because, like, we're in tax season right now as of recording. And so, to your point, it's like the wife knows, hey, let dad got to go make that money. However, to your point, like when April the 16th hits, she's like, hey, it's time for you to get back to helping me with these baths and bedtime and getting people, in bed on time and all these things. So I love that you're already able to kind of be clear on what are expectations and boundaries. And that helps keep you accountable as well to be able to say, like, hey, April 16th, that's it. We back to regular schedule. Get over it. I love that. The open convos about keeping the schedules. Like, all right, hey, tomorrow, take so-and-so here. Do this, do that. So definitely love that. Now, let's just keep the family trend going. So now you got the business. We got twins. Wifey is trying to become Dr. Wifey. How do we still find time then and now, because now they're 12, in not even just touching bases, but like still keeping the fire. Like, I still want to be in love with you, baby. You know what I'm saying? I still want you to light that fire. So, like, are we doing date nights? What does that look like? What are some of these rhythms you've established to help?
We struggle with date nights. The thing is, as the kids have gotten older, like, it's gotten easier to be more spontaneous with just like, hey, let's go hang out, right? It was really hard when they were younger, and they were, the crazy thing about young kids is they have no survivability skills. It's a bummer. Like, it really gets in the way. So we ended up, there wasn't like a season where we scheduled like dates where it's like, hey, all right, cool. And then we'd call a grandparent to come in and babysit or find a babysitter. Right. And so, but even those, so the best thing that we did is we do two things that we heard about and we were like, this seems like a good idea. Let's try it. And we've kept it up for 10 years. Is every morning hopefully before the kids are up, we spend 5 to 10 minutes just going like, hey, what do you have going on today? And how do you feel about it? Like, not just give me a list of events, but how do you feel about that list? And what that does is it reframes both of us. And we still do it every day. And so, like, my wife will tell me, okay, I got to run kid taekwondo. I got soccer practice. I got, there's a science fair project. And then what that does, it also helps me understand, like, oh, if I ask for something, I'm asking her to make sacrifices out of all these things that she has to do. Right. And then I go, okay, here's what I got. I got a consult. I've got a level 10 meeting with the crew. We've got our staff meeting. I've got a new vendor opportunity. I'm doing a podcast, whatever. And then she knows, okay, if I need Tyler's help, this is what he's kind of got going on, and he'll have to sacrifice something there. Doesn't mean we don't ask if we need help, right? But that little meeting every day helps us understand the frame of mind that the other person is in every single day. And it means that there's far more predictability in even each other being able to understand the mental load that that person has at any given time, right? And then of course there's text back and forth and whatever, but this is structured. Like you can do all of your marriage, in my opinion, could be like text messages and oh, we just communicate and little things happening here and there. But for people who are busy, geez, we need structure for it and we need a plan for it. And what that has done is it's kept us on the same page throughout the entire week. And then on Sundays, Sunday morning at 8 a.m., we sit down with a cup of coffee and go, how was the week? Right? Is the week good? And or was it bad? Right? And that's also the safe place to bring up issues where it's like, hey, I didn't like this, or this was awesome. We should do more of this. Right? And then so it's how was the week? What do you have coming up this week? And how are we going to manage the upcoming week? Right? And so for some people, this might sound clinical. And it's not like that's the only time my wife and I talk, obviously, but it allows us both to just get in each other's heads and take a moment, like put the kids over in a room, play video games, kids, and then, all right, how are things going? And then how are we connecting? Right? How are we doing? And it provides room for things to work. And I think that like ever since we've done that, we've just found it extremely useful because it's a tool. And I think like in business, you develop skills, you develop tools to help you cope with the situations you come to. And that's the same thing that we do in our marriage.
Okay. Y'all heard it. See, this is wisdom. 12 years plus in the game. He's trying to help y'all out. All right, now let's swap and move on to the business side. So we see keeping that balance with the family. We got the twin boys. They're getting older. We found a rhythm. We got Dr. Bay. Okay. Now bringing it to, because you've been doing this 10 years now. You said you started in 2015. We're in, what, 11 now. So,
Well, yeah, marketing for about 22 years in general. Like,
so you've seen a ton of
2015 is
different.
when I started this company. Yeah.
Yeah, so see, you've seen the differences in marketing and how it's changed in social media growth and all these different things. What are some of the things that you think worked well back then that are still working really good now versus some of the bigger changes?
Okay, so going back, I don't think humans have changed that much, to be perfectly frank. Like, I
Okay.
don't, I like our delivery devices have changed. What we want out of life and out of like our actual behavior patterns have not changed that much.
Okay. Okay.
And, so I have strong opinions on mass communication because that's how you move the masses. And if you're in business, you can't have one or two customers. You need hundreds or thousands, depending on your business, right? So, and of course, this is all due to vision and scale. But when I grew up in marketing, it was print, radio, and TV. And it became, all right, we're going to make a TV ad. We're going to make print ads. We're going to make newspaper ads. So we're going to make radio ads and we're going to put them on these stations at these times in front of these people with these messages. That still exists, but the delivery methods have just gone to different places. And so when I started to see digital really becoming a thing, it does mean that there's new skills to learn, but the core concept is still the same. I need to get in front of somebody at a specific point in time with a specific kind of message. So that way I enter their psyche to the point where we can have a transaction at some point. And the biggest shift, I think, has been people understood human psychology played a part, and then it became only technology. And now we're shifting back to psychology because the technology is getting commoditized because of AI. So, you want me to explain that a little bit?
I was gonna say that. I like it. I just never thought about it from that perspective. So I'm here for it. Go ahead.
So, like, my whole goal as a marketer is to communicate effectively so that way somebody knows that I have a client who can sell them a service at a time of need, right? That has not changed. And so it was mass communication. We're going to show up multiple times. We're going to show up on multiple channels. So that way, like, you can't ignore me. You're loud. And then we shift over to digital and it became very, very tech driven, right? Okay, I need to have these interest targeting points on Facebook. I need to have these keywords on Google. I need to have these codes in my website. I need to have this website structure. I need to have this thing, that thing, very, very technical. We all became marketers, had to become mechanics on tech platforms, right? And so then what we have now is all those mechanics are starting to be eaten up by AI algorithms. And so Facebook, for instance, you almost don't need to target anymore. It uses the creative to understand where to place your thing. So what does that do to the marketing? Like the marketer. The marketer doesn't need to target. The marketer doesn't have to be like, well, we need to place specifically here on this thing. I no longer have to go, I want to run this TV ad on Frasier, or I want to run this ad on this keyword. Those are the same things in two different generations of marketing, right? So instead, what we have is I have to, like, the marketer's biggest job now is going to be I have to make creative that speaks to the audience so well that the AI understands that this is what we want, but more importantly, the human understands this is what we're here for. Right. And so I think that all the tech stuff that is happening with marketing is going to get easier and simpler. That's going to become commoditized, and we all need to become better communicators as a result.
Mm. Because that means you would argue then that there are some people that are terrible communicators, hence why the better communicators will stand out. Hence why you won't need to fire me because you think you can do this in Chat GPT because you don't know how to communicate and use your brand in the same manner that I do.
So let's take a standard market. You have 50 plumbing companies all vying for the same attention. Let's say 45 of them use ChatGPT to write their ad. They don't know what makes a good ad. So they're relying on ChatGPT to do that lift for them, right? Which means that the floor is going to rise. But then you have 45 plumbers all saying the same kind of thing. But then you have those five who are like, all right, cool. I can use AI as an assist, but how do I make sure that I go above and beyond what AI gives me?
Mm.
How do I become the last leg of the journey? That's what I think marketing agencies need to be looking at, is not just how do I like output the baseline, but how do I output better than the other people that we're competing against? Like, that's true, like, advertising and marketing. You
Which, to
understand?
your point from earlier, that's no different than what we all run Facebook ads, but it still comes down to who can convert better, who has the better creative. We can
Yep.
all do it, but what's going to make it stand out? So, to your point, is it any different? It's just a different starting point, but still got to figure out how to stand out.
Yeah. So, like, I mean, you can hop on Facebook Ad Library or Google Transparency Center, and you can pop in any company and start looking at their ads. And if you do what I do, which is market research, you're going to end up looking at a whole bunch of companies and going like, wow, you all sound the same. If you were all like in the same market, which often they are, then you start going like, why would I choose one over the other? They're all the same. And so I
Mm-hmm.
think that a lot of what we're going to like, are you familiar with Story Brand, Donald Miller stuff?
Indeed.
I think we're going to end up dovetailing way deeper into that kind of a world where it's like, yeah, but how do you do it? And how do you become the more attractive plumber or company in the market?
Yeah, because they're going to try. I love this because, in theory, can all y'all fix my toilet?
Yeah, they can. So, and this is something I tell plumbers is like, anybody can fix the toilet, but who's going to give the customer a better service? And what is it that you are projecting inside of your marketing that gives them that? Because I can go to Google and find a list of 30 people to fix my toilet. But what I want to know is, are you going to take care of me? And so when I see you, reviews are a good, like, differentiator of this, right? But also, when you're just advertising out into the market on Facebook saying like, hey, here we are, what is it you're saying about yourself? Are you saying we fix toilets? Or are you saying like, we promise you a better service than anybody else? And even that is still baseline. So one of the things that I like to do is you take those messages and you twist it. It's not, it's not, hey, we're a plumbing company and you can call us to fix your toilet. It is, we're the only plumbers in town that your mom loves to call. Just have some fun. Have a personality on top of your service. Because people
Branding.
hire people. That's who we've always been attracted to. That's why we have our faces on cameras right now too.
Okay, I like this. Okay, let me start asking some more questions now. Of course, we got to help the other agency owners that are watching because, oh man, this guy, he make it sound so simple. So let's back up a little bit. If
Yeah.
you don't mind sharing, what's one money lesson you had to learn the hard way that you wish somebody would have told you earlier?
This actually, somebody, I wish they did tell me this earlier. So one of my longest clients, I've been working with them almost 15 to 18 years, somewhere in there. A little bit after I bought the business, he and I were having a meeting, and he was telling me about these big moves that he was making. He has a pretty big business inside of Fairbanks, at least Fairbanks, Alaska, and he gave me a really solid advice that I've told so many people now, which is it's okay to drain capital to rebuild capital. Like capital, your liquidity and your capital, like the money you have available. If you see a really good opportunity, like that's what it's there for. Like it's okay to go ahead and mobilize that in order to get yourself to another level. And I often think about this in hiring because hiring was a big roadblock for me, adding people to the team, even though we felt like we needed it. But I'm like, yeah, but what if? What if somebody cancels or whatever? I don't want to hurt my margins, all that stuff. And what I've realized is, oh, no. Like it might take me 4 months to make this person pay for themselves, like this position, this new thing I'm adding to the agency, but that is going to set us up with far more structure moving forward. And when you start adding leadership team, that's where you feel this because that's what hurts your margins, right? You're like, well,
Yeah.
my margins are great. Woo! I need somebody to help me in ops. Well, they aren't revenue generating, right? But you can't get farther if you don't hire them. So like that kind of thing is it's interesting because now we're at a stage where it just feels like we're hiring every day, where it's like, oh yeah, we need another accounts person. Oh, we need another salesperson. Oh, we need another person on this team. And it's like, okay. And I go, all right, well, where are we sitting? Do I feel comfortable with this? And what does that look like? Like some degree it's all judgment calls, but
Okay, now let's talk about that then. So, in theory, I love this. So, to your point about upper management hires, because of course, some people, oh, I got my EA, I got a CSM, and I got a project manager. Talk us through like once you get to that stage where it's like, no, we got to get us an A player, somebody that is going to cost us. Walk us through because some people are like you made that comment. Hey, hiring was a little challenging for me. So, kind of walk us through what are some of those things you learned in picking the best people.
um so I lucked out in my first assistant. She ended up becoming like a real helper along the way, and she's now my integrator inside of the agency. Um, and we've kind of learned this lesson together of as we are adding layers into the agency, as we've scaled and grown, um, that a people who do the job aren't necessarily the world's best managers. As much as they as much as they might excel at that, managing people is a completely different skill set and than most like doer positions, right? So it became us recognizing who inside of the team does have the capacity to manage other people well. And if we do have a seat and an opportunity, can we raise them up? And if not, okay, we might need to go outside and hire a specific person with the management skill set for a department to build the team underneath them, which you can only do once you reach a certain revenue. Like, right, you got to have enough ability to be able to do that in general, and that can be a tricky spot. But did that answer your question?
I think so. I
Okay.
mean, I would say so. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's your answer, so it's technically not wrong. You know what I'm saying?
I'll go off on all the buddy trails if you let me.
Go,
So,
go ahead. I mean, because I just think it's super important. Because even right when we were at 7FA, one of the common things I heard everybody say was, "I'm so thankful for my team," or "I'm
mhm.
so thankful for my COO or my CEO or my president." Because without them, I wouldn't even be up here getting this award. So I
Yeah.
think it's worth talking through because a lot of people, well, how do I find somebody as good as me or that I can vibe with, that I can fully trust? And I've never had to hire that kind of level. So I just think it's important to talk through.
Were you at the conference in just this past one, early March?
I was there.
Okay. So like when I got my award, I brought up Kira. Like she's my ops manager, she's my integrator. And uh because I couldn't have done that alone. Like we wouldn't have grown without her help. And we did end up having to develop a relationship and a communication tenor like rhythm ourselves of like, hey, we can do this together, but we got to be on the same page. And the nurture of that, like any relationship, took both of us really working at it and going like, okay, hey, you're frustrating me right now, here's why, and just open and honest communication. One of the biggest things that I find when people are hiring people into the team, just kind of let it go. I think that's what I talked about on stage when I got that award. Is I was like, trust. Like you have to extend trust to your team and you have to let them do their thing, even if that thing isn't what you would do. And that is the single thing when it comes to like hiring A players that I hear over and over again from other agency owners. Like I'll talk to them at these conferences or on Zoom calls and I'll be like, wow, you sound really busy and really overwhelmed and really stressed, even though you have a team. Why? And most of the time it's down to the level of trust. And I don't I don't know where I got the ability to trust my team to a degree, other than I kept screwing things up on my own. And so, and eventually, and I also opened the door to the team. I'm like, guys, listen, do you think this is a good choice? And they'd go like, okay, well, you might know better than me. Um,
I should probably listen to you. So yeah.
yeah, I have my team review me during our quarterly reviews, specific
I
members.
feel like that's good leadership, though. Like I do the same. Like when we get out of tax season, we always have that. We just call it debrief for like an hour. All right, what went really well? What
Yeah.
needs improvement? And man, that needs improvement list is always it's epic.
Yeah, we do the same thing. Every quarter, it's sit down and kind of go. I mean, we're kind of running on a loose EOS model, so it's like, all right, 90-day goals. What do we need to work on? Where are issues? Things like that. But you really gotta. If everything's relying on you to give a green light, you're just not trusting.
Oh, say it one more time for the people. Say it again. One more time. One more time. Say it. Say it.
If everything in your business relies on
Mhm.
channeling through you, where everybody's asking you, is this okay? Can I have a green light? A, you're a big old bottleneck. And B, you're not trusting the people that you're paying to make good decisions in replacement of you anyway. And that's the thing that I like today. I had somebody bring me a question. I was like, listen, I don't want to make this decision. I trust your judgment. Don't worry about making the wrong decision. Just make the best decision you can.
Mm. And how do you think that they interpreted that?
I think that's one of the reasons why I don't have people quit. I think they know that I've given them a level of importance. Everybody likes purpose. And if they have to come to me for me to define that purpose on every little thing, like they don't actually get to become a real person within the agency with like their own will. And so at that point, They know I trust them. They go, all right, this is my decision. But they also know that I'm not going to jump down their neck if it goes wrong. We're just going to talk about it. We're like, they've seen me make mistakes. I give everyone the leeway to make mistakes. That's okay. There's a time cut off, like it's like, okay, this is now a repeated pattern. We got a problem. But I don't want people to run fearful inside of my own company. I don't think that allows me to unplug.
All right, so see now y'all hear what he really talking about company culture at this stage, and I love it because I just had that conversation with one of my people today. I'm like, hey, we got this big client, just in case I never told you. So, or hopefully I'm sounding boring and repetitive. Like, hey, this is your client. It's not my client. I'm expecting you to make the right calls and the judgment calls. And if you got a question, ask. But like, if you find something, maybe it takes 7 steps to do it their old way, and we find 4. I'm giving you the full authority. Like, let's run it. Let's tell them, of course, so they're not, where's it? But like, let's tell them and let's run with it. And so,
along the side of that, I've been asked multiple times by people who need a definition of where their boundaries are, right? Like, where's my guardrails? Which I'm bad at giving. And so, but they know like, all right, so what are my guardrails, right? So my director of accounts is like, how much can I cost the company with decisions? I was like, oh, if it's over 5K, let me know. And I trust her, right? And so, and then of course there's processes in place to review things later, but she doesn't have to come to me to figure out, okay, what can I do? And so we have like a set levers that people can pull at different levels within the company in order to make sure that decisions can happen without me. And for the most part, the team makes exactly the decision that I would have made anyway.
Yeah, that's what I've learned too. I'm like, hey, 8 to 9 times out of 10, y'all have the right answer. So you just wanted to find a way to talk to me. That's what it was, really.
Nah. I think a lot
And
of
they're
times,
like, no, I was just nervous. I didn't want to say anything. I get that, but like, you looked it up, you checked the SOP, like,
this is what we do. Yeah. So there's a couple times where I've had people come to me over the past couple months where I'm like, yeah, you're doing the right thing. You know that. I'm like, yeah, I just wanted to be sure. I'm like, dude, please don't ask me if you know. Like,
right.
like,
You got it right.
Yeah. And those are usually instances where maybe something wasn't defined well enough in an SOP, or they don't make that decision often. So they haven't felt that extension of trust in a while. So it eroded and they needed me to rebuild it.
I like it. All right. As we land this plane, let's go rapid fire really, really quick.
You got it.
And these are just really fast. So, what was one of the biggest financial curveballs you had as you started growing?
Financial curveballs as I started growing.
Mm-hmm.
What's crazy is I can't name one, but I'm also somewhat, I wouldn't call myself frugal, but I'm careful.
Okay,
right?
I like that.
So I try and avoid financial curveballs.
We all do.
I mean,
yeah.
The thing is, like, all the curveballs I can put them all in a bucket and go, all these balls are this big. There wasn't anything massive where I was like, where did that come from? Because I was carefully scaling the company. Here's one. Before we had niched in, I had 3 clients who commanded probably, it's a classic story. I had 3 clients that it was probably like 70% of my revenue. And I was always living under fear that one of those clients would leave me. And so when I first really started trying to actually structure the agency, it was, I need a bunch of clients about the same revenue level, so that way it doesn't hurt when they leave. And so we ended up, so you don't have your dependency on like these whales. And when we started going after plumbers, we really structured out, this is the kinds of things that we do, these are the costs, and it doesn't matter how big the client is, it matters what they sign up for. And so even some bigger companies don't hold power over the entire client list or the team disproportionately from another client. Because what happened in the past is when you have a whale of a client, you end up over serving them at the cost of all the other little people. And then they get really mad, and that can hurt your reviews, your reputation, right? And as well as like they'll leave. And so if you really want to protect yourself, have your guardrails set and say, this is what we do. This is who we serve. This is how much we cost. And big boy over here, he's going to be treated very much the same because he's one of many.
Good one. All right, last question. If you had a time machine and you know every single thing right to this second, and you could go back in time, what would you tell 18 or 22-year-old Tyler?
Um, you can command your own circumstances. My parents were both like government workers, and it was very much like this is what people have defined for us. This is the way we're going to live our lives, and this is what we do. And then they retired, and then it's like they went fancy free, and they're like, "Yay, we're moving to Montana, we're doing all this stuff." But what I grew up with was a lesson of like, you don't actually get to choose your earning potential. You don't get to choose your path very much. You just take opportunities when you see them come for you, but it's purely circumstantial, and you don't get to choose what opportunities you get. I am way more with my children, way more in tune with, listen, kids, you can define the direction of your life way more than you think. You can define your circumstances, and you can create those pathways forward. Doesn't mean everything's going to work out, but at least you're taking steps in a direction that you are intending with your life. Instead of just letting life come at you, you're living life.
All right. I think, y'all, that's the perfect place to park. Tell the people, because they're like, man, this dude's cool. He's calm. I like his style. If they want to connect with you or possibly work with you, how do they get in touch with you?
So the agency stuff you can find at mammothforplumbers.com. If you search Tyler Williams Marketing on YouTube, you'll come across my channel. I talk a lot about marketing tactics there. A lot of the family stuff is not stuff like I go into that deep on my own stuff, but if anybody has questions, they can always reach out. I'll try and respond too.
There you go. All right, y'all. So again, season 4, we got people like this, and y'all know the drill. We got to hit the notes. So this is somebody who has bought an agency, but he worked in it, so he learned the ins and outs, and then he had to work through that switch of being the technician and the one always doing to now, how do I start delegating? How do I hire the management level? What does it look like to go from being able to serve everybody, but to niche down and pricing and all of these different things? Then, of course, he had to do that while being married to somebody who was getting a doctorate while he had the twins. So, how do we now keep family first, but still do the necessary and mandatory things to bring in the funds and the finances to take care of us? And I love that whole, it can't last forever. Even if for a season, you got to get out of balance. No, it can't last forever. Let your spouse hold you accountable. And then towards the end, we started to talk about, hey, what are things we would change and family time and all of these different things. So these are the types of people we want to bring to you in season 4. So Tyler, man, thank you for coming on and just sharing a little bit of your story and sharing how you did things and all of that. Guys, until next time, take care of yourselves. Peace.
Thanks.